The capital of Ver was called Ordelune, though no moon had been seen above it for 80 years. Smoke from the royal furnaces roofed the city in permanent dusk. Chimneys rose like black fingers around the palace hill, and at the highest point hung the bell of civic mercy, a bronze giant without a clapper. It never rang. The judges claimed that its silence proved the kingdom was at peace. Every citizen knew the truth. Beneath the bell stood the Hall of Quiet Mouths, where prisoners confessed to crimes before they were told what those crimes were. Their final words were taken by masked clerks and written in red ink. Their anger was drained through silver needles, collected in glass vessels, and carried below the palace. Mara Veylen had once delivered those vessels. She had been a military courier during the Board of War, fast enough to cross burning fields before the dead finished falling. When the war ended, the Crown hired her to carry sealed cargo through the Undercity. She never asked what moved inside the cases. She only heard the faint knocking. Then her younger brother, Turin, disappeared. His name was removed from the census. His room was emptied before Mara returned home. The neighbors remembered him, but refused to speak. Only one thing remained: a red thread tied around the bedpost, their childhood signal for "I was taken, not lost." From that night onward, Mara dreamed of veins running beneath Ordelune. In every dream, one red line left her heart, entered the streets, and divided. One wound, many graves. Mara followed the red thread mark through falsified records, bribed undertakers, and abandoned drainage tunnels. At last, she found a route beneath the Hall of Quiet Mouths, where the city's foundations narrowed into a stone shaft known as the Throat. The air there tasted of copper. At the bottom stood a laboratory built around a reservoir of dark liquid. Thousands of glass tubes descended from the ceiling, carrying thin streams of luminous red into the pool. Faces appeared beneath its surface whenever Mara moved her lantern. The architect of the place was waiting for her. His name was Dr. Cale Orsin, once a battlefield anatomist and now the Crown's Minister of Necessary Cruelty. His eyes had been replaced with polished garnet lenses. Around his neck hung a black iron amulet no larger than a child's fist. Crimson glass pulsed inside its cage.
"The kingdom cannot destroy anger,"
he told her.
"So we have taught anger obedience."
He named the relic the Heart of Divided Wrath. Its purpose was simple. A soldier could release only one projectile, preserving discipline and aim. Once that first strike found flesh, the heart would divide its course toward other marked bodies. No wasted volleys, no uncontrolled barrage. One command, one impact. Many conclusions. Then Mara saw Turin's face beneath the reservoir. She lunged. Orsin raised a hand, but the red glass flared before he could call the guards. The reservoir recognized Moran's rage. Every tube began to shake. The faces below opened their mouths. When Mara tore the amulet from Orsin's throat, the black chain fastened itself around hers. Orsin smiled through broken teeth.
"You believe you stole it,"
he whispered.
"but it has merely found a louder heart."
Mara escaped through the eastern ossuary with guards behind her. She carried no bow, only the short iron launcher used by military couriers to fire message bolts across siege lines. One bolt remained in its chamber. At the ossuary gate, Captain Rusk and 6 royal wardens blocked her path. Rusk had signed the order that erased Turin's name. Mara knew because she had seen his seal in the archives. She aimed at him. The heart tightened against her sternum. Its inner channels turned bright as fresh cuts. Mara pulled the trigger. Only one bolt flew. It struck Rusk beneath the collarbone. For the span of a breath, nothing else happened. Then the bolt stopped as though caught by an unseen hand. Crimson fractures spread through the air around it. 7 red paths burst from the wound. They did not move like arrows. They bent around pillars, passed through gaps in the walls of bone, and sought the other wardens with patient certainty. Each path hardened into a needle of dark glass an instant before impact. 7 bodies fell from one shot. The last path did not end in a guard. It slipped through the gate and vanished into the sleeping district beyond. Hours later, Mara learned that a woman named Alien Rusk had died in her bed, pierced through the heart. She had been the captain's estranged daughter. She had not spoken to him in 12 years. Mara understood the first law of the relic. The first wound chose the doorway. The wearer's anger chose the roads beyond it. That night she tried to remove the heart. The chain had sunk beneath her skin. When she pulled, the veins in her neck rose toward it like roots seeking rain. Mara fled Ordelune and joined the Lanternless, a rebel company hidden within the drowned monasteries west of the city. Their leader was Sable Arquin, a former royal cantor whose tongue had been cut out after he refused to bless an execution. Sable communicated through a slate and a set of hand signs. He believed the relic could end the monarchy in a single night. The Lanternless brought Mara names: judges, ministers, informants, hereditary jailers, and officers who had filled mass graves along the border. They painted each name upon a wall and connected them with red thread. Soon the chamber resembled the inside of a body. Mara became their arrow. She would strike one official in a crowded carriage, and the heart would divide the death toward hidden accomplices. A magistrate fell in a bathhouse 3 districts away. A torturer died behind 7 locked doors. A tax collector collapsed while speaking from a cathedral balcony. The people began calling the killings the Red Branching. Songs spread through the taverns. 1 cut for the master, 1 thread for the chain, 1 heart starts the hunting, and none hide from pain. But the relic never followed legal guilt. It followed pressure within Mara, remembered faces, half-heard rumors, inherited grudges, and fears she'd mistaken for certainty. Innocents began to die beside the condemned. A servant who resembled a prison clerk, a child carrying the surname of a judge, a healer who had once failed to save a rebel, a stranger whose laugh sounded like Captain Rusk. Each death added another voice to Mara's sleep. Sable wrote a warning upon his slate. "You are not aiming it anymore," Mara answered.
"Then give me the right first target."
She had begun to believe that a perfect first wound could justify every path that followed. The Crown responded by opening the Hall of Quiet Mouths. Thousands of prisoners were marched into the streets with their lips sewn shut using red thread. Queen Avera IX announced that each prisoner had conspired with the Lanternless. At sunset, they would be burned beneath the tongueless bell. Among them walked Tern Valen. He was thinner, older, and blind in one eye, but Mara recognized the way he held his left hand closed whenever he was afraid. Around his wrist was the same red thread that had been tied to his bedpost. Mara entered the city disguised as a corpse-bearer. Sable and the rebels moved through sewer gates beneath the procession. Their plan was to reach the palace hill, free the prisoners, and force the queen into the open. Then Teren saw Mara. He shook his head. It was not a plea, it was a warning. Dr. Orsin stepped onto a balcony above the prisoners. Glass tubes from the reservoir had been woven into his spine. He revealed that the procession was not merely an execution. Every captive had been filled with harvested rage. If Mara attacked, the heart would recognize them as extensions of the reservoir. They were bait, fuel, and targets at once. Orsin called down to her.
Violence is most efficient when the victim already carries the road to the next victim.
The queen appeared beneath the silent bell, wearing a mask of white iron. Mara saw Teren drag toward the pyres. She fired. The bolt struck Orsin through one garnet eye, the sky filled with red lines. The first division killed Orsin. The second struck the royal guards. The third passed into the prisoners. Then the heart discovered the reservoir beneath the city. Every stolen rage became a root. Crimson paths burst from streets, windows, wells, chimneys, and graves. They moved through Ordelune like illuminated veins. Some sought jailers, some sought prisoners, Others curved toward family members, former lovers, creditors, commanders, witnesses, and children carrying old names. No wall could stop them because they did not travel through stone. They traveled through relation. The city screamed without understanding why one person's wound had selected another person's body. Mara ran toward Tern as the procession collapsed. Red threads passed around him without striking. For one impossible moment, she believed the relic had spared him. Then she saw the line leaving his chest. It was not entering him, it was waiting for her. Terran tore the stitches from his mouth. Blood ran down his chin.
They kept me alive,
He said.
because I was the strongest road to you.
The line between them hardened. Mara threw herself aside, but Terran caught it in both hands. The crimson shard opened his palms, climbed his arms, and reached his heart. He held it there long enough for Mara to crawl close.
You did find me.
He whispered. When he died, every red path in the city paused. The heart had reached the grief beneath Mara's anger. For the first time, it understood the true source. Mara rose, carrying Terran's blood upon her face. The heart no longer pulsed like an object. It beat in time with her body. Its black cage had opened, and crimson roots spread beneath her ribs. Sable found her at the palace stair. Half the lanternless were dead. The rest had turned upon one another after the red paths revealed betrayals they had concealed for years. He wrote one final message. Destroy the first hatred, or it will never end. Mara believed he meant the Queen. She climbed through halls where portraits wept red glass. Each chamber contained mirrors angled toward the throne, allowing the monarch to watch herself ruling from 100 directions. Queen Avara waited beneath the bell's enormous shadow. She removed her white mask. Mara saw her own face, not exactly. The Queen was older, pale and unscarred, but the resemblance was unmistakable. Avara revealed that Mara's mother had belonged to a discarded royal bloodline. Terran's arrest had not been punishment for rebellion. It had been an experiment. The crown needed a bearer whose anger could connect palace and populace, ruler and condemned. Mara had never escaped the system. She completed its circuit. Avara opened her arms.
Whom do you hate first?
Mara drove a broken arrowhead into the Queen's throat. The heart divided the wound into 1,000 crimson threads. Every mirror shattered. Every hidden royal descendant fell. Every official bound by oath screamed. Every rebel who desired the throne was marked. One final thread turned backward, entering Mara beneath the breastbone. The first hatred had never been the Queen. It was the part of Mara that had survived when Tern did not. Ordelune burned for 9 days. On the 10th, the tongueless bell fell from the palace tower. When it struck the earth, it made no sound. The ground simply opened, revealing the reservoir beneath the city. The surviving citizens fled. They carried stories of red lines moving beneath the roads and of shadows pierced by wounds before bodies were touched. They said the dead whispered through cups of water. They said every argument caused crimson cracks to appear in nearby glass. Sable descended alone into the ruins. He found Mara suspended above the reservoir by thousands of red threads. The heart had replaced most of her chest. Its channels ran from her body into the foundations, following roads, bloodlines, debts, vows, and memories far beyond the kingdom. She was still conscious. She begged him without words to cut her down. Sable raised his knife. A red path appeared between them. He understood. The moment he wounded her, the heart would divide that wound toward everyone connected to her pain. The surviving rebels, the refugees, anyone who sang the songs of the Red Branching, and anyone who remembered Terran's name. He lowered the blade. Mara remained beneath the ruins as the unwilling pulse of a dead capital. Years passed. Ordelune became forbidden ground. Moss covered the walls, but no birds nested there. Travelers sometimes found black iron pendants growing from the soil like fruit. Each contained a splinter of crimson glass. Those who wore them heard a woman breathing beneath the earth. When they grew angry, the glass warmed. When they chose a target, it whispered, one wound, many roads. And somewhere beneath the fallen bell, Mara opened her eyes.